So let's start with the aesthetics, one of my favorite. And I got some sketches here. You can see we had a very enthusiastic, very motivated young design team, and we just let them go. And these were their visions of the future. And out of this came a couple universal, iconic items that we wanted to be able to play up. Just talking about controls, there's a lot that's new here, but there's a lot that isn't. We weren't ready to give up on the steering wheel. Turns out people still like those a lot. The shifter as well. There are electronic shifters out there. We probably could have had a little push button. But the fact is, this is one of those key safety items that some level of familiarity, you get in, you're going to hit a button instead of turning a key, and you'd like to be able to, put it in gear without having to stop and think about it. We did change the look, though. We decided to have it so that when it was in park, it would fold flush and be fairly seamless with the rest of the center stack. And then when you do put it in gear, it clearly visually is in gear, and it has a nice, delightful charm all its own. There was a constant wrestling match with, I'll say, purists, in that, boy, this vehicle ought to be about as basic and Spartan as we can possibly make it. Because every bit of electricity or mass used takes away from range, and then you're not doing good. And we kind of had to fight that a little bit with, we want to make sure people really like it, and it works. And this is a very different vehicle, and it operates differently. So we found that there wasn't too much electrical draw from these new modern liquid crystal displays, so we spec'd out 2 of them. The center stack is made of capacitive touch switches, very few actual moving buttons, and that was a little bit of an energy savings as well. The display itself, this is the cluster, for example, and having round dials and a traditional fuel gauge didn't make a lot of sense. So the design team spent a lot of time actually building these items in 3-dimension and creating a little room in which you're peering in to see which state you're in. You can see here you're running the battery, you've got 32 miles left. Kind of more of a 2-dimensional hieroglyphic in the back is how much range you have if you need to recharge off of the internal combustion motor. And then on the right is the efficiency gauge, which you see in some cars nowadays. Sometimes it's a needle, sometimes it's something else. In this case, we have this little ball that you'll be able to see from your peripheral vision. And if you're accelerating or braking too hard, too much, the ball starts to move and gets less green. And we used a lot of, I think, really interesting graphic design to kind of reward somebody for driving the right way and changing their behavior. It's a little Scooby snack or something. Because, I've worked on a lot of high-performance vehicles. We have a tachometer and we have a G meter in the car and just all these fantastic things to be able to have bragging rights with your friends. Like, well, I was able to get it to 1.2 Gs of lateral forces when I went around the track. Oh, fantastic, great. In this particular case, this is it is high performance. It's just a different kind, and we want to be able to enable that. Now, we did find that for people that were in love with technology and people that were, let's say, of a certain age, this was great. And we found there were a whole lot of other people that just wanted a car that didn't use much gas. And this freaked them out a little bit. So we do have a simplified mode in which if you just want to know how fast you're going and when you have to stop and recharge, we have that too. And it's that kind of detail and understanding the customer that hopefully will make this a very mainstream, high volume, successful vehicle. The seats, even though this is a fairly expensive car, right? There's the car, and the powertrain is about the cost of a normal car. I wouldn't exactly call this a luxury vehicle, but some sacrifices were made. It's a completely manual seat. We figure, instead of hitting a button here, you can move a lever and put your back into it a little bit. Not a big deal. But we did give it heated seats, which is a little bit of a contradiction. But when you don't have the internal combustion motor to rely on, the car doesn't make heat conventionally. So if you want to heat up the environment, you're basically running electricity to heat the air. And so we found it was a lot more efficient to put the heat elements in the seat and warm the driver and passenger directly. You get that immediate sensation of heat. we still heat the air as well, but it is a much smaller, much more efficient system that if that's all we had, we'd get a lot of complaints and it wouldn't work very well. And then windows. We had a lot of arguments on this. Well, of course, we're just going to have manual crank windows. And that was our assumption. And then we really thought about it and said, because my first car was manual windows, but with air conditioning. And you get in, close the doors, and gosh, it's hot in here, right? And it is a royal pain in the ass to go and roll down 4 windows manually. So I'm just going to crank the AC. We knew that's what people would really do because we are human and we're not all good all the time. So we put in the extra mass and electrical draw of power windows because we knew that it would give the sensation of wind and comfort, and you'd be using the air conditioning a bit less. Okay, so I've got an animation here that the design team put together. Same design team that designed this interior put this little animation together, and it shows kind of a little tease of how all this works. Because there was no sound when you started the car, we wanted to have some level of theatrics to know that it's ready to go. So there's an animation, and we're designing the sound right now as we speak. And as much as some people like white in the center stack, it is also available in black if you prefer basic black like I do. That concludes the product placement part of today's I'll say I'm so impressed with the speakers that we've had here yesterday and so far this morning. I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to get this message out, hopefully be able to change some of your minds about the company that I work for and the designers in it, and hope that it's added something to the whole quilt of the Cusp conference. Thank you very much.